Okay guys, so we are going to go over the War of 1812, the cause and effects. And before we start off with anything, it's important to sorry, I had to get rid of that. It's for a different slide. Our essential question for our lesson today, and that is how do patterns of cause and effect show themselves, and how it's important in history and how we can kind of follow the timeline and how it has influenced today even and how big of an impact it has. So in order to answer this question, we need to understand what cause and effect are, what they are individually, and how they work together. So, cause versus effect. Cause are actions that produce a result. Effect is the results of an action. So there's a relationship between both. So one is before the other. Cause is the action, effect is the result of that action. So a cause is an event or a situation that creates a particular outcome. An effect is the outcome created by a particular event or situation. You can see how they correlate and they are hand in hand. A good example is if you talk on your cell phone while driving, you may end up in a wreck. And that's just kind of how some things go. If you don't study for your test, you probably wouldn't get a great grade. It's an equal amount for each. Unlike if you did study, you would do great on a test. It goes both ways, positive or negative. So what I want y'all guys to do is on your pre-reflection is how does cause differ from effect? So I want you to create a scenario where one action impacts the other. I want you to explain. Now, don't use my example. You're going to have to come up with one of your own. Okay? So this is the time I would give students to write the pre-reflection. So I'm going to move on. Okay. And we're back. So the cause and effects for the War of 1812. Cause number one is British interference with American shipping, naval blockade, which had the effect of growth of U.S. manufacturing. Going down to cause number two, impressment or kidnapping American sailors, which in turn affected how Americans gained confidence and proved to the world that it could defend itself, increasing American patriotism. And the last cause is Native Americans believe I'm so sorry, I read that wrong. Americans believe British pushed Native Americans to fight settlers. So, as a result, Native Americans were weakened. So, we're going to go in order. And so we're going to go with cause number one, British interference with American shipping and naval blockade. So the United Kingdom and France were at war with each other. And before we had started on this, I had handed y'all a paper with slides, and it has certain words blocked out. For example, who are the two countries that are at war with each other at the moment? Yes, United Kingdom and France. Okay, so United Kingdom did not want the U.S. to provide the French with food and supplies, so they set up a partial blockade. So make sure to fill in that not. They did not want the U.S. to provide. So they set up the partial blockade. Those are the last two words in that blank for that sentence. Okay, guys? As you can tell, this is an important aspect which had a result in the effect of the growth of U.S. manufacturing. So when the British set up the blockade, war interrupted trade, and Americans were forced to make many of the goods they had previously imported. So, we made more goods at home. Yay! Go us. So, it's important to write down that trade, we need to write down trade. That's a good one for us to write down in that blank. And then we have another blank in this section for imported. They had previously imported goods. So, okay, on to the next cause. So, British impressed or kidnapped American sailors and forced them to work on British ships. Between 1803 to 1812, the British impressed about 6,000 American sailors. Guys, that's a lot of people. So, we want to make sure that to fit in, so what does impressed mean? Right, it means kidnapped. So, you want to write down kidnapped in that blank on y'all's paper. And in the next sentence, make sure to write down 6,000. Because that's a lot of American sailors, guys. So this actually had a positive effect on our country. So because of the fact that they were kidnapping our sailors, Americans gained confidence in the fact that it could now defend itself and prove to the country, to the world that it can defend itself. But so it increased American patriotism. So one of the first things is our ability to defend ourselves against a powerful country and win, as well as the U.S. manufacturing more and more goods, made Americans believe in the stability of their country. So we have a couple blanks in the sentence, right, guys? So we need to put in the word defend. Okay? Powerful and stability. Okay? On to the next thing. Britain was still viewed as the mightiest military power at the time, and the U.S. was able to beat them again. Remember, guys, 1776, the American War, the Independence War. Sorry, the Independence War. Yay, America! And we became our own country. So we don't have any blanks for that one. That one's just a little fun tad bit. The next one is American men were pretty courageous and did some impressive things, all for the good of not themselves but the country. So remember to write down courageous in that blank as well as not. So they're doing this for the country, not themselves. So moving on to cause number 3. Americans believe British pushed Native Americans to fight settlers. Many American settlers believed that the British were stirring up the native resistance to frontier settlement. And as you can see in the picture above, we have an estimated casualty statistics of the War of 1812. So killed in action, in total of the United States, we had about 2,260. Great Britain had 2,000. Native Americans alone had 1,500. Those are killed in action or died of wounds. Died of disease or accident. We had about 8,500 for Native Americans. Wounded, captured, or missing are unknown. And I doubt we'll know anything anytime soon, which is sad, and I wish we could know that. But this is just a way of showing you the effects of war and what has happened and the sad reality that this has already come to pass. So we want to make sure to fill in those blanks, okay, guys? So we want to put in believed in that blank, in that first blank, and stirring up in that second one, okay, guys? So that last cause, they were stirring up the Native Americans against settlers, which increased, oh, that's not right. I'm so sorry. It is Native Americans were weakened. I forgot to change that. And so the war broke the strength of Native Americans who had sided with the British. So many of the Native Americans were killed or wounded or got sick, and really it was very detrimental to the trust or any sort of trust between settlers and Native Americans. So we want to make sure to put broke in that first blank, and the second blank is strength, because those are two of the more important aspects of this effect. So this war, so I want you to understand that the timeline of the War of 1812, it is not just the year of 1812. It is consistent. It is over 3 years. It is from 1812 to 1815. And so we've got a couple different battles and all that fun stuff. So it begins in 1812. The Battle of Erie is in 1813. Washington, D.C. is attacked and the White House burned to the ground. So the one that's left standing is the one that was built after this war. 1814, the Treaty of Ghent, which is the peace treaty between Great Britain and America, and the Battle of New Orleans, which happened about 2 weeks after that peace treaty was signed, where America won and proved, remember, we were up at the front and they proved their victory, and that we were now able to defend ourselves against one of the strongest military, powerful militia in the world, England, and we came out the victors, guys. So this is pretty amazing in its own. I just want to make sure y'all have those blanks filled out, and keep in mind of our central question, okay, guys? Do you remember what that is? Okay, so how do patterns of cause and effect show themselves? Okay, that's what we're thinking about. So I'm going to give you some time so our exit ticket, kind of our main assignment for today, is you're actually going to create an article to influence the American people to serve in the war against England. And I want you to provide examples why. And look back at your notes that you've included and wrote down and filled in the blanks. Y'all have done an amazing job today. I just want you to go in more depth, and we're going to kind of get creative with this, okay, guys? So you're trying to promote and trying to get people to join the cause and build up U.S. Patriotism. But why? Why should we do that? And think about how the UK has been blocking our trade. Think about how they've been kidnapping our sailors, and those are sons and brothers and fathers that have been kidnapped, and they should return home. And just think of all that entails. We're going to end today. Time out. I'd let them finish. And then at the end, we're going to bring it back to the essential question. How do patterns of cause and effect show themselves? As you can tell throughout our lesson, that one, the cause, impacts the others and has a certain effect on that situation from that event. Okay, guys, thank you.